Okay, hello. My name is Longbear Don't Care, and This is part one to my How to Main Ravenous Hydra series on Talon. I'll do more videos on Rengar and Riven, but for now, this is Talon. So, right into runes, I run physical damage and mana regen. I have 6 armor seals and 3 health. It's sometimes better to have straight armor, but I really like it this way. You especially have to have armor. It's always better than to run full health, because on any physical kind of champion you're going to be taking minion aggro, and armor is what helps you whenever you are forced to be taking minion aggro. The flat AD, that's straightforward. Mana regen, I run this for multiple reasons. The reason why I have the 3 health here is actually make up for the lack of magic resist that I have right here, but I I feel like I need to have mana regen when I play him, and it especially helps out with his early game. His mana issues on his rake are really bad, and you have to use your rake if you want to farm up a little bit, because anyone who's good will harass you, because they do know that Talon is weak early game. While you don't really want to step to him stupid like, which your main goal is in the early game is just to farm, so having mana will help you sustain and do that. For my masteries, I won 21-9-0. This is a big deal with the mana regen on the runes. It allows you to not have to have the 9 in utility, and allows you to get away with this, and not only that, but start with a long sword instead of a flask and 3 pots like I have to whenever I run 2109 on like my Smurf, where I don't have mana regen runes. I run this double-edged sword. Butcher and Peace can be swapped out for blade weaving and spell weaving. Attack speed, because once again it's more about the early game. I build CDR into his kit, so I'm not I get a black cleaver and a Yomu's, so it's 30% right there. Beyond that, you don't really need more CDR, because his burst is really straightforward, quick, and then once it's done, you're not so reliant on cooldowns. You just need for those spells to all be up at the same time, and you have so many ways to get in that it doesn't really matter. Straight AD, very standard. As for this, this can be swapped out for this, depending on what you want, because I also have the health on the runes. This helps a little bit, and I don't know, I just like this for the early game. It's better, but I don't have this for the same reason I don't have the swiftness, and that's because the way that you burst, you're going all in, you're blowing all your spells at once. You shouldn't really be CC'd, and if you are, it's once again, you should have been able to get your burst off first if you're playing properly. It's just jump in, drop your load, and then you're probably gonna die. That's just Talon. So I'm gonna be like, alright, first thing, I've seen a lot of Talon guides, and none of them properly mention all the burst rotations that you can go through, and they just will show one sort of method, or the video maker's favorite one, when there is a lot. First things first, let's talk about my favorite way to BM, and these nuts. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the burst rotations. First thing, before I even show rotations, is it's important to know rake is obviously the first priority in maxing, but there's nothing wrong with getting extra points in queue for the early game, especially against champions who are mostly melee. A perfect example to use, especially because of his Q's auto reset, is Fizz. So I have my friend
Only
here.
fools pledge life to
God
honor.
damn, Thorn Rings. First, we'll do the Stealth Burst. Everyone knows this one. This is the one everyone recommends, but this is not something you want to just use. The only people that recommend this are people that play Talon and are used to his snowbally waves. You can't jump straight into using this. It's a more advanced one because you have to be fed in order for it to work. What you do is you ult into a Yomu's and then go for the burst from there, which is activate Q before you blink to make sure that you get the cutthroat slow proc, and that's going to be the only guaranteed auto attack. So you want to have the enhanced Q on the cut through, and then follow up with your rake and Tiamat directly after. Alright, so
They
here
won't
I'm going to come
survive.
to you. This one's personally my favorite burst. It's where you go in, you QE, Hydra, rake, and then ult, and then close your ult. It's the 100 to 0 burst, works really good. You could also E auto attack and then Q reset if if you feel like you need the extra damage and you know they can't get away.
Let's finish this quickly.
So now level order. Everybody will tell you that you should max Q second. The only time you should actually max Q second is if you know that you're going to be doing a lot of pushing of towers, because you want the extra damage on the towers. But mainly Talon's used as a burst champion, and while you want to rush 3 points in Q for the early game before you really have damage to be amplifying off of the items, you actually want to max his E second after getting those 3 points in Q. And like I said earlier, for the most part you're going to be maxing rake first, but for melee champions who are going to be in your face like Fizz or Zed or Yasuo, you're going to be wanting to get that extra point or two in his Q earlier on, because that's more guaranteed damage while they'll just dash around and be annoying and dodge your rake. Now I'm going to talk about the passive burst that not enough people talk about, because people always put emphasis on going in with your E first when that's not necessarily needed. It just amplifies the damage on the rest of your spells. This one's most useful in team fights where you're not exactly able to get any type of flank if you're just with your team and you're just trying to assist. You're usually going to be wanting to kite around the outskirts, throw in a rake or something. So after the rake hits, you're going to be wanting to step back and then QE to the target that you want once you get the chance. And then ulting, and then Hydra, and then probably be able to throw another rake in by the time you're coming out of your ult. So that would look more like this. Another variation of the passive burst combo would be to rake auto and then step backwards while you're waiting on your auto attacks to come back off cooldown, and then once you know that it is, then using the QE combo and ulting away and waiting for your ult to lower your CD so that you can reinitiate or re-rake or hit them with another Q at the end of it. So here I'm going to show the Q reset, and what you're going to want to do for it is wait against certain champions if you know they have the potential to kite back, because if you use your Q reset when it's not guaranteed, then you're wasting the time that you could have had to have that extra auto attack for free, right? Alright, go. So that's what happens whenever
they won't survive.
You use it preemptively and then you don't actually get the auto reset, you just end up standing there like a jackass. Alright dude, that's perfect. You see what I'm doing there though?
Yeah, no, I see what you're doing. You're jumping to me, autoing once, and then doing the auto reset with the Q. I understand now.
Let's finish this quickly.
What's also important to note in this combo is that Talon's E does not work as an auto reset. So if you are about to auto, or if they jump away right after your first auto, you should wait until you know that you have your auto attack animation reset to where when you blink to them you can automatically attack and then use the attack reset then. Alright, last thing I want to mention before I completely end the video is the completely obvious one for trades, and that's to use your E to dodge skill shots on skill shot reliant champions, and when to get Q second and when to get E second. You usually are going to get E second because, like I've mentioned before, it's all about early game surviving. If you get ganked, you can blink to them and flash away. If you are in line to get hit with some shitty skill shot, then you can blink to a minion or to the enemy champion. Against some squishy champs that have their entire kit relying on some kind of skill shot, like say you have Azir and you both just hit level 2 and he wants to throw his soldiers at you, you can blink to him and just auto him a little bit right there and probably win the trade, because he doesn't have much on autos, has really squishy kit, and being an assassin, you'll always come out ahead if you properly play it and both you and the opponent start at the same health. You get Q second against champs like Fizz and like Zed and like Yasuo, where they might get in your face and you want to be able to hit them when they do. Yasuo is an iffy one, because if he's not stupid, he's not going to get in your face because he knows he can poke you for free at range. But it's just for the people who you know they're going to get in your face, and if they're already doing it as Yasuo, I would say go with the Q second. As for Zed, whether or not you get Q or E second is based on whether or not he gets Q or W second. Usually you're actually going to want to start E against Zed, but if he starts with Q and then goes for E, or starts with E and then goes for Q, you're going to want to put the second point in the Q, because he's going to be wanting to get in melee range and hit you with his spin, and even if he's not trying to, you'll be able to trade with him if he steps into your minions. But you never want to chase after Zed, especially in the early levels, because he can outplay you with his shadow and force you to take minion aggro, and then he can win trades based on his passive if he can get you low enough, which you'll be committing if you actually have to go in or you decide to do something silly like that. So he will definitely get you below 50% health. But that's it for my video on how to main Ravenous Hydra Talon guide. If you want more footage on how to use burst, both my favorite burst and the passive one for team fights, you can reference my video how to I main Ravenous Hydra part 2, where I play Talon. I don't have any footage in there of me using a stealth burst, because it's personally not my favorite, but it's the one that you'll most commonly see Talon players use anyway, and it's pretty straightforward if you know the other burst, how it works. Have a good day, and I'll get better. Yeah. Wait, I'll come over.
Only fool.
I can't believe that.